Hey. Um, so one of the signs of dealing with a person who just, may not be somebody you want to have in your orbit, or might be unsafe or potentially abusive, or like there might be a problem, if you continue to have this person like in your life, is uh, that they'll draw conclusions, that don't make sense. So basically, you might be talking to them and explaining a thing, and then they respond, and you just go, but what? Like, how did you get there? What? That didn't even make sense. Like, what does that even mean? Yesterday's video, I talked about kind of like how I'd run up against that, with people that I loved and cared about, like for example, my mom. Like I didn't before I understood about like cluster B stuff, like I did not understand nothing that she was doing. It was like, what is happening? Um, I did see someone refer to what the fuck personality disorder, and I was like, oh, boom, boom. That's yes, because you have these moments of like, WTF? What? How did you get there? Um, so I think I first noticed this when I was a crisis listener a listener on a crisis line. It you're an active listener. People call in, they need help. I started volunteering there with the idea that it was more somebody's feeling suicidal, and you walk them through that, or like maybe somebody's having a panic attack, you're gonna be like there and present for them. And honestly, like I have taken those calls, but what I didn't realize was that the majority of the calls we were taking were from regulars, and we were basically an extension of their mental health network. Like I would be on a shift, and like I would expect certain calls from certain people. And that was definitely I don't know that this is the case for every crisis line, but I definitely know that was the case for ours. So we get people calling in, from more of a mental health perspective, which I don't really have any background in. I thought it was going to be a completely different situation, but I would get calls from people, that I later found out was like, oh, that's what schizophrenia like looks and sounds like. Basically, what it was, is consistently they would tell a story, they would like explain what happened to them, but I would sit there like, this doesn't make sense. The story doesn't make sense. Inside the story, like events don't make sense. Their explanations for things don't make sense. Their decision making process doesn't make sense. And at first I didn't recognize what I was dealing with. And so I'd ask questions like, wait, I'm confused. Like, you know, just trying to clarify. And like that's absolutely like the wrong tack to take, because then they start feeling really defensive and they get like hostile and aggressive. Um, I actually work at a job now where I take calls from people who are, seeking our help. Um, and part of that job is asking questions. I got to flesh out like, okay, this is what happened. These are the elements. These are the people involved. Like, this is the decision making process. Like, I'm fact finding. And as soon as I get somebody where it doesn't make any sense, and their response to me trying to like clarify, is like aggression and hostility. They're frustrated because I'm not just automatically accepting everything they say. I was like, oh, okay, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm dealing with. Um, but it shows up in like small ways, with people like kind of in the world, and we're having a conversation and they just like they're coming at concepts in this like sideways way that doesn't make sense to you. Like, you're definitely not on the same page. You may not be sharing your sense of realities, maybe not overlapping enough, to really interact with this person. So that to me has become like a really strong indicator of, ooh, okay, this is somebody that doesn't mean it's not coming from a place of like, ooh, they're bad, not even necessarily from a place of judgment, but like, for me going, ooh, okay, like that discernment. And going, I'm gonna make that choice for myself to not even go there. Um, maybe there's other people that are gonna be able to relate to that, but we have these paradigms, and our paradigm, like, yesterday's video, our paradigms, affect our thought process, affects our conclusions. And so I definitely, once I'm realizing, like, ooh, we don't draw the same conclusions. Like, we're not operating off the same. And if I can't even understand, like, what your paradigm is, if I can't, like, hone in on, oh, okay, this is how you think, I take a step back. And it's not to, um, I don't mean to sound like arrogant or anything, but, understanding people is actually a strength of mine. Communication is something I'm relatively good at. So when I bump up on somebody and it's like, it's just not happening, that to me is like, okay, alrighty, okay, that's what this is. And it's okay, it doesn't mean anything, necessarily. Just recognize for myself, like, oh, okay, that's, you know, not a safe person for me. Um, honestly, it did show up early in my relationship with my ex. He would say stuff, and I'd be like, "Wait, where'd you get that from?" Like, he would accuse me of, he wouldn't like straight up accuse me of cheating, but he'd like, "You could be cheating right now. People cheat," and I was like, "Well, I'm not people. Like, where are you even pulling this from?" I've like demonstrated no inclination. Like, why are you with me if you don't think that I'm, like, this is at the very, very beginning, and he was so paranoid about, like, the possibility of, like, people, and I was like, that this is not founded on anything that I've really done. I think one time it was late at night. I went to a friend's that they were doing something late at night, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna roll out, I'm gonna pop right on over. And because it was late at night, I was wearing like my comfy clothes, which, are kind of, it's not like I got dressed, I just kind of threw my stuff on and ran out the door. And he was like, you went over there dressed like that? And I was like, yeah, it's like midnight. Like, why would I like go through the whole shebang of getting dressed, And he thought it was like really revealing and that I was trying to entice people. And, it didn't make sense to me because, especially at that particular time, I didn't have like a good self-image. So I was like, are you blind? Like, that's literally the opposite of what anyone's gonna think. They're not, no one's enticed by my mashed potatoes, right? Like, I did not understand what he was, he was looking at me like, oh, you're so sexy. And that was not a reality that I was on sharing at all. And so he was just like, you went over there just like and just, I think it was something like leggings or bike shorts and like just whatever shirt. Like, it wasn't, I was just, oh, and I really wish I'd gone, okay, this has nothing to do with me, and I don't understand these conclusions you're drawing, and this is not, you're not, let's not do this, but, um, I do that thing of like, well, so a lot of times we do this thing where we give people the benefit of the doubt. We benefit of the doubt our way into bad situations. And so I was like, well, I guess I understand and whatever, but like, really, that's not where I was coming from. Like, I just trust me because I haven't done anything untrustworthy. Um, he just definitely, like, very different beliefs about, like, what's appropriate. Which is really weird because I had a different set of beliefs about, like, what's appropriate. Because I work at a really white collar job. And I did not want him to show up to my job. I was like, no, please, this is a professional environment, and, like, not to crack on him, but, like, not just not professional, but like extreme in the other direction. And so he felt like like I wasn't proud of him, and I was like, it's not that. It's like I work at this professional job. We have clients come in that, they need to like understand that we're professionals. Like, I don't, you know, I don't feel comfortable with you coming like dressed this way. So it was so funny because like on the one hand, he was very like vested in how I was dressing, right? In terms of dealing with potentially other dudes that might find me attractive, that I might like hook up with or leave him for. On the other hand, when I'm going, ooh, no, 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 I'm not comfortable with like your level of clothing when it comes to my job, like different situation. Anyway, so when you bump up on that stuff and it doesn't make any sense, and you're like, that means that there's like a disconnect on the ways people are thinking about a thing, and it can show up in small ways. So just something to keep in mind whenever, if you start having a bunch of like WTF moments with a person, maybe back off. Maybe this is not like, one of your people. And again, not from a sense of any like, judgment or anger or anything like that. Like it's not personal. It's just like, oh, okay, you're showing me that we're not on the same page, and that's fine. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you later.